Hi, my name is Dalit Burgess, and I'm a speech-language pathologist at Aplus Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about facilitating reading success by creating a literacy-rich home environment. So today, we're going to talk about Hi, my name is Dalit Burgess, and I'm a speech-language pathologist at Aplus Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about facilitating reading success by creating a literacy-rich home environment. Okay, so I'm going to start off here. Okay, an effective reading instruction. The National Reading Panel Report in 2000 summarized several decades of scientific research that clearly shows effective reading instruction addresses 5 critical areas: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The research reviewed by the National Reading Panel revealed that these different approaches or methods of teaching are not equally effective. The most reliably effective approach is called systematic and explicit instruction. So here again are the 5 keys to reading success. We have the phonemic awareness, the phonics, the fluency, the vocabulary, and the comprehension. So we're going to start off by talking about phonemic awareness. But before we start talking about phonemic awareness, we need to talk about phonological awareness, because there's a lot of confusion. What is phonemic awareness and what is phonological awareness? Phonological awareness is the umbrella term. It includes phonemic awareness. Phonological awareness includes, on the left side of the screen, words and sentences, syllables, onset rhymes, and rhyming and alliteration. And on the left-hand side is the phonemic awareness, which includes isolation, blending, segmenting, and addition, deletion of and substitution of syllables. You have here the 5 levels of phonological awareness, and they go from the less complex activities to more complex activities. You have rhyming and alliteration, which is the most basic of the phonological awareness skills, and that is hat, bat, sat are rhyming, and alliteration is big, ball. The first letter is the same. Then you have sentence segmentation, which is I like chocolate chip cookies, and that is segmented into 5 words. I like chocolate chip cookies, and that is what sentence segmentation is and determines the words. Then there's syllables. There's segmenting and blending. So you have the syllables of a word like computer, computer, 3 syllables. Then you have the onsets and rhymes. It's blending and segmenting of the syllables. So you have s and becomes sand. And finally, you have phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is what we are going to be focusing on today. Phonemic awareness is the most complex activity of phonological awareness. It is the blending of sounds into words. It's the segmenting words into sounds and deleting and manipulating sounds into spoken words. And let's talk about that a little bit more. Phonemic awareness is the ability to focus on and manipulate individual sounds in spoken words. The phoneme is the smallest unit of sound, and there are 44 phonemes in the English language. Please note that phonemic awareness activities use your ears only. So you can do these in the car or at bedtime when the lights are out. They're only auditory. It's only about sound. It's not about letters, only about sound. So for example, we're going to talk about phonemes. How many phonemes are in these words? We have the word sun. It is made up of s, n, 3 phonemes. The next word is said. It's 4 letters, but how many phonemes? S, d, 3 phonemes. Now, the word though has a lot of letters, but only 2 phonemes. The, O. Only 2 taps, only 2 sounds. The, 2 phonemes. The 8 also is similar. Has a lot of letters, but only 2 phonemes. A, T. Laugh has 3 phonemes. L, A, F. And straight has 5. S, T, R, A, T. 5. So again, sun has 3, said has 3, though has 2, 8 has 2, laugh has 3, and straight has 5. Now we're going to talk about the targeted skills of phonemic awareness, and they're going from the least complicated to the most complicated. So the first targeted skill, which is the least complex, is isolated sound recognition. And here's an example. What sound does Sammy Snake say? Sammy Snake says, "Sss." The next targeted skill that we're going to look at is phoneme counting. How many sounds are there in the word bat? B, a, b, a, t. There are 3. And how many sounds are in the word bake? Also 3. B, a, k. So even though there are 4 letters, there are only 3 sounds. The next targeted skill is blending onset rhymes. It starts with s and ends with and. Put it together and it says sand. The next targeted skill is blending phonemes. So let's blend these sounds together. D, a, t. What word does it make? It makes dot. Then we move on to sound deletion. What word is left when you drop the s from stop? You get top. Now say hot dog without the dog. What do you have left? Hot. And what word would be left if you take the n off of tune? Two. Next, we have identification of sound positions. Where do you hear the g in dog? Do you hear it at the beginning, in the middle, or end of the word? You hear it at the end of the word. Next, we move on to the targeted skill called sound segmentation. How many sounds do you hear in the word sat? You hear 3 sounds. What are the sounds do you hear? What are the sounds? S, a, t, sat. Now, then we move on to adding phonemes. What word do you get when you add b to the word ring? It becomes bring. And finally, substituting phonemes. Take the word bag, change the b to t. What's the new word? It's tag. Another example is the word is mug. Change the to What is a new word? Rug. Okay, and now we're going to talk about some home activities for building phonemic awareness. We have one activity called Tommy Turtle, where the parent says, Tommy Turtle says words very, very slowly. Tommy says, p. What's the word? And the child thinks and says, p. Is the word that Tommy's saying map? Yes, it is. Another activity is called head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So you think of a word that has at most 4 phonemes. The child will stand up and touch first the head, then the shoulders, the knees, and the toes as they say each phoneme for the word. So let's give the example of stop. The word is stop, so we go st, and touch the toes for p. Another activity is I spy the sound. You ask your child to spy words that begin with a certain letter, with a certain sound rather than a letter. So for example, I spy with my little eye something that begins with the sound. And the answer is maybe marker. Another activity for building phonemic awareness is clapping out words. Now, let's talk about the word watermelon. Is watermelon a long word or a short word? Watermelon is a long word. let's clap out the syllables. Watermelon. 4 claps. Now how about the word corn? Is that a long word or a short word? Yes, it's short. Let's clap out the syllables. 1 clap. And here are just some good books that focus on phonemic awareness. Don't Be Silly, Mrs. Millie by Judy Cox, Tonka Tonka Skunk by Steve Webb, and Cock-a-Doodle Moo by Bernard Most. So we just discussed phonemic awareness. Now we're going to move on to phonics. Phonics is the process of mapping the sounds and words to written letters. This is one of the earliest reading skills as it introduces the link between letters and sound, and that's known as the alphabetic principle. So what is the alphabetic principle? It's the idea that letters and letter patterns represent the sounds of spoken language. And reading development is dependent on this understanding of the alphabetic principle. We also know that there are predictable relationships between sounds and letters that allow children to apply these relationships to both familiar and unfamiliar words. So for example, when a child sees an M, they know that it produces the sound. And when they see the A, they know that it produces the A sound. And a P produces the P sound. So even if they're not familiar with that word, they can read it as map, made up of M-A-P, makes up map. And then phonics instruction also serves as a memory aid to help students remember and apply these rules for matching these sounds and the letters. So as we know, sounds are phonemes. Symbols are graphemes or letters. And phonics is the sound syllable correspondence. It's taking the sounds and the letters, the symbols, and making them connected. Okay, so here are some home activities for building those phonics skills. We have alphabet ball, where a parent throws the ball and says, T, and the child says, that's the letter T, and names a word that starts with the letter T, like in table. Another activity is mystery bag, where you place several items in a bag, and you have the child pull out the item and name the letters of the object. So, for example, the object is a pen, and the child says P, E, N. Yes, P-E-N spells pen. Then we move on to letter races. This game requires a refrigerator and magnetic letters. You put the magnetic letters in a bucket across the room from the refrigerator, and you call out a sound or a word starting with a particular sound. Then you ask the child with a ready, set, go to pick out the correct magnetic letter and run over as fast as he or she can to stick it onto the refrigerator. Then we have phonics hopscotch, which is to draw a hopscotch board on the ground with chalk, and each square to draw a letter of the alphabet. You call out a letter and ask your child to jump on those letter names and while they name the sound of each letter. And here are some things that you can buy. Some games that are very familiar, bananagrams, where you build words, or the ABC 1, 2, 3 bath set, where you can put foamy letters and numbers all over your bathtub while taking a bath. That's always a lot of fun. Scrabble is a well-loved game, and then building blocks. So those are all great tools that you can use for building phonics skills. So we talked about phonemic awareness. We talked about phonics. Now we're going to move on to fluency. Fluency is the ability to read a text accurately, quickly, and with expression. Expression is also known as prosody. And fluency is a key skill that makes somebody a strong reader, because it's a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. So fluent readers do not have to focus on decoding each word. They can concentrate on what the text means. They're able to make connections and use those connections in the text and connect it with their background knowledge. And when a child has reading fluency, it greatly impacts on their motivation to read. The child wants to read because they want to know what the text says. Now we're going to do a little quiz. And this quiz was created by Reading Rockets. So we're going to go through it. Fluent reader, number 1, fluent readers read text. A, accurately, B, quickly, C, with expression, or D, all of the above. You got it, it's D, all of the above. So fluent readers, accurate, quick, and with expression. Number 2, readers who are fluent, A, read very quickly, B, read very slowly and deliberately, C, read smoothly with appropriate phrasing, or D, none of the above. The right answer is C, read smoothly with appropriate phrasing. Number 3, fluent readers are able to blank as they read. A, connect ideas, B, focus on meaning, C, recognize words, or D, all of the above. All of the above. They can connect ideas, they can focus on the text, the meaning of the text, and then they can recognize the words and decode them. So it's D. Number 4, fluency rate. When reading fiction and nonfiction, A is always the same, B is sometimes different, C cannot be measured, or D, none of the above. The answer is B, it's sometimes different. Reading fiction for many people is easier than reading nonfiction. Number 5, which instructional approach listed below is the most effective for increasing fluency? A, students taking turns reading short passages of a text out loud. B, students rereading a passage out loud while receiving guidance. C, students silently reading a passage, or D, none of the above. The answer is B. In building fluency, rereading the text is a really, really important strategy. It allows for increased speed, and increased comprehension, and the smoothness and expression. Rereading the same text over and over is a very good strategy for building fluency. So the answer is B. Number 6, repeated oral readings. A, improve word recognition. B, improve speed. C, improve reading comprehension. And D, all of the above. As I just mentioned, it's D, all of the above. 7, round robin reading does not increase fluency because. Some people are not familiar with round robin reading. Basically, that's when a teacher goes around the classroom and a child reads a paragraph or two, and then the next child reads a paragraph or two, and then the third child reads a paragraph or two. So that type of reading does not increase fluency because A, passages assigned to students to read are only read once. B, students only read small amounts of text. C, teachers do not give feedback, or D, all of the above. And the answer is D, all of the above. Number 8, students who are likely to need fluency support, A, have a limited vocabulary and limited background knowledge. B, have processing speed or attention challenges. C, are receiving reading intervention in other skill areas, or D, all of the above. The answer is all of the above. Number 9, automaticity and fluency. So I'm going to define automaticity and then fluency. Automaticity is being able to read a list of words automatically and quickly and accurately. Fluency is reading a longer passage or a longer text. So they are different. And reading that with fluency means that you're going to read it with comprehension, with speed, with accuracy, and with the possibility of having prosody expression. So A, both mean reading with speed and accuracy. B, are not necessary for reading success. C, are different but related processes, or D, none of the above. And the answer is C. Number 10, silent independent reading blank. A, improves reading achievement and fluency. B, does not improve reading achievement and fluency. C, has not been proven effective as an instructional technique, or D, none of the above. And the answer is C. It's not been proven effective as an instructional technique. So here are some strategies for building fluency skills. You read out loud to model reading that demonstrates fast, accurate word recognition, as well as phrasing and expression that sounds like natural speech. Reading out loud to your children is just a great tool in general for building all skills. Building a sight word vocabulary. And sight words are very important. They don't always follow the rules, but they are words that are used repeatedly, that typically children need to learn them so that they are able to read basic text. And building that sight word vocabulary so that they know it automatically is very important for building fluency. Paired reading. Paired reading is when you read, you take turns reading with your child. So my turn, your turn. Echo reading is when I read something, like a page in a book and a reader, and then the child reads the page after me. Rereading text, very good fluency technique, and investing in audiobooks. And the idea with the audiobooks is that the child has their finger and follows along while the audio book is being read, and that promotes reading with accuracy, rate, and expression. So here are some home activities for building fluency skills. You take turns reading a book. Parent can read the left side and the child can read the right side. Have a child track the words with his or her finger as the parent reads a passage out loud. Then have the child read it. Have a parent read it aloud. Then have child match his or her voice to the parent's. Read favorite books and poems over and over again. Practice getting smoother and reading with expression. Repeated readings improve children's fluency and comprehension. Also provide opportunities to practice reading with expression. And then you can make your very own homemade audiobooks by recording a child's favorite book. To build, all of these are great tools for building fluency skills. So we talked about phonemic awareness, we talked about phonics, we talked about fluency, and now we're going to talk about vocabulary. According to Stephen Stahl in 2005, vocabulary knowledge is knowledge. The knowledge of a word not only implies a definition, but also implies how that word fits into the world. And we develop vocabulary throughout our lives. Words are extremely powerful. They open up possibilities, and of course we want that for our children. So vocabulary is fundamental to learning to read. Children who come into school with a larger vocabulary have a significant advantage when learning to read. And that comes with talking to your children, reading to your children, interacting with your children. Those are the primary ways of building those larger vocabularies, narrating what the child says, defining words, introducing them, sharing the experience. Vocabulary is a key to reading comprehension. Readers cannot understand what they're reading without knowing what most of the words mean. And scientific research has revealed that most vocabulary is learned indirectly, at home, with friends, not in the classroom, but some vocabulary must be taught directly. So the research supports both indirect and direct approaches, but most vocabulary is learned in our homes. Okay, and here are some home activities for building vocabulary skills. Engage your child in conversation reading. Talk, discuss, and define words in your conversation. Reading to your child every day and defining unfamiliar words for your child. Discuss the book. Help build word knowledge by classifying and grouping objects or pictures while naming them. You can tell jokes and stories and encourage your child to read on his or her own. The more children read, the more words they learn. So we talked about phonemic awareness, we talked about phonics, we talked about fluency and vocabulary, and now we're going to talk about comprehension. Comprehension is the understanding and interpretation of what is read. To be able to accurately understand written material, children need to be able to decode what they read, make connections between what they read and what they already know, and think deeply about what they read. So as you can see in the picture, you have the phonemic awareness, you have the vocabulary, you have the phonics and word study, and you have the fluency. And they're all linking together to the middle, which is the ultimate goal of comprehension, of understanding what you're reading. Here are some comprehension question frames, just to give you a sense of what you could ask a child to facilitate that comprehension. So how would you describe blank in your own words? What does blank mean? So defining vocabulary. Why is this important? Why did he do that? How did he do that? And then we're going to talk about some connection analysis question frames. What causes this? What would happen if this happened? How could blank be used to do blank? How is this similar to what you've read in other books or stories? To draw those connections, to build those relationships so that they can bridge the comprehension of the text to their previous knowledge. Here are some more questions. How are blank and blank alike? How is this thing and that thing alike? What's the difference between this and this? How does blank make a difference in this situation? And what are the strengths and weaknesses of the situation? What causes this? So here are some home activities for building reading comprehension skills. You could toss a beach ball that has the words what, where, how, when, and why, and have the child answer the question in response to the story. You can create a picture story by making 6 boxes on a paper and have the child draw a picture of each part of the story. I remember doing the story recently with a child. The story was about a girl who was very, very angry at her brother. He called her a baby. So we drew that in the first box, that she was really mad. And she went to the backyard and she went on her tree swing and she started swinging really angry and she was really upset. So we drew that in the second box. And then we drew all of a sudden that she was swinging and behind her there was a bull that got loose from the fence around the bull broke, and the bull was coming towards the girl. Then in the next picture, she's still swinging and singing and feeling a little bit happier, and this bull is coming closer. And all of a sudden, the brother sees that the bull is charging at the girl, and she's swinging completely oblivious, and we're drawing that picture. And then the next picture is that they're coming closer. The girl's still oblivious. And in the final picture, the brother pushes the girl off the swing and rips off the red sweater off the girl, and the bull devours the red sweater, and the brother saves the sister, and she recounts how grateful she is. So in this little story, we were able to break it down and draw pictures. Now this is something that children really enjoy, and guess what? You remember every single detail of the story because it is visual. I remember the story. Before reading a book, have the child look at the cover and the inside pictures and predict what the story is about. You can also summarize what you read. Another great idea is cooking. By cooking or baking with a recipe, you let the child take what he or she is reading and turn it into something, a masterpiece, something delicious. Okay, so now we talked about the five elements of reading instruction. Now we're going to talk about how do we make our home a literacy-rich environment. So here are some great suggestions, and at the end I have some really good resources that help me with these suggestions. Make reading aloud a big priority. Reading is fun. Reading aloud to your child encourages them to love reading, and that is so motivating. Read aloud several times a day. It doesn't just have to be a bedtime. It doesn't just have to be a chore. It's something that is enjoyable and something that is something that you can really enjoy with your child throughout the day. Create a family library. Pick out books that are enjoyable about certain topics, birds or cooking or whatever is interesting to the family. It bonds the family by giving shared interests. Another thing is that you can have picture books and chapter books and books that are board books and all kinds of different books and rhyming books so that you can have a variety of books for different ages in your family. Visit bookstores and libraries. This allows for people to really love, libraries are a place where you can play, and bookstores are very enjoyable. This creates a love of reading and a love of books. Create a special writing area filled with paper and pens and markers and colored pencils and crayons and all kinds of things, because writing and reading are related, and by writing a child is able to facilitate those skills and is able to create and use those letters and maybe write a story or different things, and that encourages their creativity and their ability to express themselves with the written word. Literacy related toys, games, and puzzles. We talked a little bit already about having like bananagrams or Scrabble or building blocks with letters. There are lots of games and puzzles that are, you know, have words, have facilitate vocabulary, facilitate letters. So there are a lot of really good things that you can find. Magnetic tiles and other letter activities. So magnetic tiles are great. You put them on the refrigerator or other appliance. Other letter activities like blocks and things like that, where the child is able to manipulate and change, and you can take the word hat, take away the H letter, and then put a P and make it pat. You can take away pat and you can take away the T and then put an N there and make it into a pan. And then take the A, take away the A, put an E in place and manipulate those letters. It's easy, it's fun. It allows you to play while you're making dinner or whatever. Decorating special events and occasions with books. There's so many great books in the library. You don't have to buy everything, but you can go to the library and there are books on birthdays and on special times of the year. And it makes being able to read about a story and somebody celebrating a birthday or a special occasion or some milestone enhances it's a shared experience with the book and their experience, and it takes the text and makes it into a more personal experience and increases their understanding of what is written in the text. Label your house. You can put post-it notes with couch, table, door, chair, phone, so that you can build those vocabulary skills, build those spelling skills and phonics skills. Labels are always fun, and you know, you can do a lot of different activities with that. Point out environmental print like street signs and names of stores. It is so much fun when a child finally realizes that they can read the words on a store or on a sign. The whole world opens up for them, and encourage that about talking about what the sign says and point out letters and information on the sign, so that all of a sudden you see a store that you know the name and you see those letters and it has meaning, brings a very big excitement to a child's life. Keep the family calendar in a place where everyone can see it. This is we talk about what's going to happen in the future, talk about what has happened, exciting days or appointments, and you can build reading and also bonding and knowing what's going to happen by doing that. Subscribe to children's magazines. There's so many great magazines out there. Highlight magazine, I remember from my childhood, but there are a lot of great magazines, and the child looks forward to that. And when it comes, it's a very exciting thing. And you can include a book as a gift for a birthday or a special occasion. It makes books and reading something that a child looks forward to and has a positive association with. This is a great suggestion. Keep a globe nearby to use it as you locate settings of a book. In books, there's generally a setting in a book, and then you can learn about geography, learn about how to spell the word, and learn about the world. It is a really nice idea. Creating have your child read with distant family members over Zoom. In today's world where we're distancing because of the pandemic, this is not only a good idea for the child and bridging the child's reading, but also in connecting with other people in the family, and I'm sure would be a welcome event for other family members, especially if they are more isolated. And the most important thing is that you need to see your child, the child needs to see you reading and writing. That you love to read, that you enjoy, and this is something that you like to do. That is something that is the most important element to encourage your child to read. So I wanted to take a second and put it all together. This is a book that I read when I was a girl, and it's a book that I've read to my children. It's been around for a long time. And I just wanted to look at how you can look at all 5 elements of reading that we discussed today, and you can work on it just from this cover. So we're going to start off with phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness, I see the word sail. Sail. How many phonemes are in the word sail? I see that there are 4 letters, but how many phonemes? Let's see. S, E, O. Only 3. So there are 3 phonemes, but 4 letters. So that is a phonemic awareness activity. Next, we're going to talk about phonics. I see that the first word of the caps begins with a C. What other letters make up this K sound? C is not the only letter that makes the K sound. What other letters make up the K sound? And the child can answer K and CK. So there are opportunities for looking at phonics with this as well. Now, in terms of building fluency, there are a lot of sight words on this cover. I see in building sight words is a fluency building skill. So we can talk about sight words. I know that you're familiar with some of these sight words. Let's see if you can see some of the sight words that you learned. I see for, I see I see of, I see the word some, and there, and the word by. So many sight words just on this one page. These are all fluency exercises. Next, we can talk about vocabulary. Okay, let's talk about what are those monkeys doing? They are peeking. Look at that. What does it mean to peek? They're looking, but they're not looking fully. They're peeking. They're kind of hiding and looking and trying to see without being seen. That's called peeking. That's learning vocabulary. And look at those caps. They're stacked. What does stacked mean? Stacked means one on top of the other. So there's opportunity for vocabulary development. And finally, comprehension. Comprehension, we talk about, look at that picture. What do you think is what do you think is happening? I see the man. The man is sleeping. And I see those monkeys. And they're peeking. And I see the hats. And they're stacked. What do you think is going to happen to those caps? What do you think those monkeys are going to do with those caps? Okay. So that's a prediction question. And when that man wakes up and maybe he doesn't see those caps, how do you think he's going to feel about that? What do you think he's going to do? These are all reading comprehension type questions. And we get that all of those activities just from looking at this one cover of a book. Okay. And I want to end by saying that children are made readers on the laps of their parents. And that's a beautiful quote. Reading is not easy for all kids. It really isn't. But we want to give them the tools and the best shot at reading. So we want to encourage to make the home a literacy-rich environment, to provide tools and, for building that phonemic awareness, for building fluency, for building phonics skills, vocabulary, and comprehension. We want to build those things, provide every opportunity. And, it's a very complicated process. It is not a simple process, but there are a lot of things that we have in our power and that we can do to, support that development and give our children the best opportunities for learning, even when we're at home. So, and I found some wonderful online resources. There were terrific Reading Rockets and Reading Eggs they were both a wealth of information, particularly Reading Rockets. A family of readers gave great suggestions about developing that literacy-rich environment. The Wilson Language Program talked about the research and just different tips for encouraging reading. The online resources are very plentiful, and if you're interested in looking up any of those things, you can just look at any one of these elements of instruction, and there's so much that you can find online. So with that, I'm going to thank you so much, and I appreciate your time and your attention today.